Here we are again, 2 years later, and I'm making another video about the good and the beautiful. Most of you, if you're my subscribers, actually came here because of that video. If I look back at all of my YouTube videos that I've made over the years, this is my most watched video, and I got the most subscribers from this video. Actually, 1,000 of my subscribers came from this one single video. So 2 years ago, I made this video saying we are done with the Good and the Beautiful homeschool curriculum. I actually just rewatched that video. I don't normally rewatch my videos, but I was like, what did I even say in there? Like, I know obviously what I was talking about. I was done using the Good and the Beautiful, but like, what did I actually say? And thank you all for actually like getting through that video, because it was a little rough. I feel like I was a little all over the place because it was a very emotional decision. Years later, still was one of the best decisions I made, but if you're following me now, you know my kindergartner is actually using the Good and the Beautiful. So I thought this warranted an update of my thoughts years later. How do I still feel about the curriculum? What do I see for the future, and all those things. So let's talk about the Good and the Beautiful. We're going to start this video off with saying this is not meant to be negative. I make videos to help others research curriculum. I share what works and what doesn't with me. And the Good and the Beautiful is a great curriculum for many, many families. Many kids have used this curriculum for as many years as it's been around and seem to be fine. I think curriculum is a tool and it's not the end-all say-all, and I think some curriculums work better for kids and parents than others. So we'll cover that real quick. If this works great for you, that's amazing. I'm just sharing my thoughts on it. So let's rewind for those other people that were not from that video. I have used at this point levels K through 4 in math and levels 1 through 4 in language arts. I have used their History 1 program, which I don't even think exists anymore, and I have used multiple of their old science units. So just wanted to throw that out there. I have plenty of experience using this curriculum. It's not like we just used 1 year and that was it. I've used it with multiple kids that have different learning styles, different personalities, and so if you watched that other video, that was kind of what I was explaining, where one of my daughters was literally doing double the lessons. She was bored, she wasn't learning anything in her lesson, but then wasn't prepared for the next level, where another daughter was taking hours to get through a lesson, was not learning anything, lessons would end in tears and frustration. So I had two complete opposite experiences using this curriculum as well, with like different issues going on. So I think I'm warranted my opinion to talk about this curriculum. How did we get here? How did we get to using the Math K after I said I would never use this curriculum again? Well, I've never used the Math K. So like I said, with my older kids, we started at level 1. So I never really saw how K was built. And the child I'm teaching now is very strong in math. He has been doing math the earliest skill. Like, he's much stronger in math than he is in things like reading or language arts. But he is very quick and to the point. So he doesn't want me to do a bunch of activities. He doesn't want me reading through a teacher's guide. He wants to open it up and go, which this curriculum for the most part does achieve. It's quick, to the point. There's very little prep work. I'm a busy working mom. I work full time and I'm homeschooling multiple kids. So even if I didn't work full time, I have 2 other kids that need to be taught lessons and things like that. So I didn't want anything super teacher intensive. And I really didn't know where to start for kindergarten math. I know eventually what math curriculum I like to use for older grades, but for the younger grades, I wasn't sure. We use Saxon math for the older grades, and I think Saxon is great starting at 3rd grade and up. However, I don't love Saxon for younger grades because it's boring. It's black and white, and little kids like color. They like pictures, they like activities. We all know the Good and the Beautiful is beautiful and colorful, and it does help. But one of my main issues with the Good and the Beautiful is there's just too much on pages. They combined the teacher's guide and student pages on one. So when you have a child in kindergarten that maybe doesn't know how to read or doesn't care, it's a little bit easier to get through. So like my son is completely fine if I just kind of quickly read through the teacher portion in my mind and pick out what I want to say to him. If I sat here and read all of this to him, he would completely zone out. He is not the kind of kid to sit there and listen to me reading all of this. He wants to know, what do I need to do and how do I do it? So what I have to do with this curriculum for my kindergartner is I read through all of this in my head really fast and then try to pick out what is he actually needing to do here. The issue with the older levels is not every kid is going to want you to skip through stuff. They're gonna be like, why are you skipping through that? And we don't want to build those habits, right? Like if there's words on a page in instruction, we shouldn't be skipping through that. And so that was one of my biggest things with using this in older levels, is we were skipping a lot of stuff. There was a lot of fluff, is what I call it, a lot of unimportant information that kind of distracts you from what you're actually learning. And some kids can't, like, they can't get past that. My son at this point is okay with it, but as he's learning to read more, he's going to be able to read a lot of these words. Or as I think you get into level 3 and 4, it becomes a little bit more independent. So now your child is reading through all this fluff just to get to the point of the lesson. So if you have a child that likes, read alouds and listening to a lot of stories and it can sit for longer periods of time, then this isn't that bad. But for kids that just need it, I, as the teacher, feel like I have to do a little bit of like decoding and figure out what is actually happening in the lesson. Now with that, the activities are pretty much fun. I think they're age appropriate for what it's kind of like on their own. They always have, a little bit of a practice page, kind of like this one where there's like some addition problems, there's some like matching. I will say there is a lack of consistency throughout everything. One being like the activities that they do. Sometimes there's like one thing my child solves because we skip a lot of that reading fluff, and then he's done with math for the day. So we've completed math in like less than 5 minutes. So I do feel like, especially at this point, he's almost done with this. We have like 5 lessons left in this, which is why I'm talking about it now. He's getting to that next level of math. I'm supplementing a lot. He needs to do a lot more practice problems and a little bit harder of problems as well. Lack of consistency in like their practice problems from lesson to lesson, but also from lesson to lesson, there's a lack of consistency. They do a spiral approach, which means they introduce a concept and will, introduce it and then move on to another concept and then revisit that concept a couple lessons later. I don't think they do a good job at it. I think they like talk about something and then you won't hear about it for like 10 lessons, and then that next lesson expects them to like know exactly how to do it. So I feel like there's like huge jumps sometimes, but then also with other lessons, I feel like they go over it and over it and over it and over it towards like, we got it, we know this. So there's a lack of consistency between those two things, where sometimes there's way too much repetitiveness and other times it's like, wait, did we even learn this? Example, we did like, I don't know, 10 lessons ago, we were learning to count by twos. And I actually will say they did a great job with counting by twos. They introduced it, I think like 2 through 10. Those ones, they showed it on like a number line and a frog jumping. And then within like the next 10 lessons, that number line was there. Let's keep learning. Let's keep practicing. Let's keep practicing. There'd be like random activities to learn to count by twos. And then it would be like your little daily practice without the number line. So my son learned to count by twos, I would say within 2 weeks of how the lessons were laid out. They were awesome. They were great. Then we get to counting by fives, and they showed it once with no number line with a hundreds chart, which I get, right? You're counting up higher, but with no kind of resource like how they did twos. It was a completely different way that they taught it. And then the next lesson, it was just like, okay, count by fives. So I felt like they put so much emphasis on twos in practice, and then fives, it was just like, good luck. So the lack of consistency there, and that, you know, can hurt a kid's confidence, right? If they're not getting that continual practice on a new concept, they're going to forget it. They're not going to learn it. And I will say, using obviously multiple years of math curriculums, one thing that's very important to know in math, and we'll say before we're talking about like middle school math, we're just talking about like basic math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, basic math, facts, pre-ish algebra, skip counting, things like that. These skills are things, and these concepts are taught over and over and over again, level after level. So if you're new to homeschooling and this is your first time, just know this isn't like the end all say all. I bet you if we opened up level 1, I bet you skip counting is repeated again. And then again in level 2, and then again in level 3. So I am a little bit calmer now using it because I know this isn't the last time he's going to be taught how to skip count certain numbers, because I've used those upper levels. But if this is your first time using it, it could be a little bit like, wait, what? My kid doesn't know that, and now we're just moving on to the next thing. So keeping that in mind, I think that makes me dislike it a little bit less as far as consistency, because I know those concepts will be taught again. But I mean, it just shows you right there. There was the exact same type of lesson, skip counting, and it's taught two completely different ways. The lack of consistency, the amount of fluff, which does increase level over level, the amount of words, the jumping around on concepts, is why I don't love this curriculum. And as we are finishing this up, I'm really at like a crossroads where it's like, okay, this works okay, we're getting by, but I've done level 1, and it's not that level 1 was okay, but it's like as the levels get older, is the more and more I dislike it. So it's like, do I just go to level 1? I know what to expect, I know how to adjust it for us, or do I look at other things? Which then no curriculum is going to be perfect, right? So I'm going to find issues if I try to use this curriculum. And then again, it's changing a curriculum. So whereas this isn't perfect, we know how it works. And my son knows what to expect. He's comfortable looking at these pages. I'm comfortable teaching this curriculum. So then like an easy thing, right? Just go to level 1. So basically what I'm saying is it's not always black and white. And I don't think there's a perfect curriculum. I've thankfully found a math curriculum that works very well for my older kids. And I have very little negative to say about it, if anything negative to say about it. So is this something that I recommend? Maybe, but it's going to depend on you, your situation, the child, and you know what to expect going forward. I will tell you, there is a hard shift in this curriculum between levels 3, 4, and 5, and you will see that all over YouTube, all over videos. Levels, you know, K, 1, and 2, they're easy enough to kind of get by because you, the teacher, are doing a lot of that teaching. So you can navigate through a lot of that fluff. You can explain things a different way. You can help practice a little bit more. But once we get into that independent work, the kids kind of taking the lessons on their own, I don't think this is a good curriculum for that type of teaching. I think this needs a teacher, a mom, a parent to kind of decode and, you know, figure out what's best for their kids. Here we are 2 years later from that last video, and I kind of have the same feelings about it. I think their math is probably the only thing I would consider using for level 1 and maybe 2. I haven't even attempted their language arts program for my son. I looked at it because you can download everything for free, and that's what I would recommend doing. Print it out before you buy it and just do a couple lessons and see how it works for you. I did that with the language arts and it just does not work. I do not at all like their language arts program for any level. Their science units, I've never tried the new ones. I've only done the older ones, and it was too much prep work on the teacher. But they weren't horrible, and I do like the new design of them. And then their history, it got discontinued I have a whole video about their history. There's a reason it was discontinued. Families did not like it, and I don't think they've relaunched that at all. So I have the same thoughts. We are here 2 years later. I've tried the level I have not tried, and I still feel the same way, and I have absolutely zero interest in trying their like new middle school levels. I just don't know how they're doing that the way they're doing it. If it's the same format, I don't think it's a great option for our family. So that's where we're at. I felt like I needed to give an update, explain why we're using Math K, my thoughts on it now that we're finishing it. Yeah, I don't know. I have some other first grade math curriculum that I'm actually going to pull out this week. I'm going to do that in another video, and I'm going to look through that and see what I think about it, and then from there I'll make the judgment call if I'm just going to purchase level 1 or if we're going to switch curriculums, which my son thrives with consistency, so I really don't want to. But at the same time, you know, if we're skipping half of the lesson, if we're skipping half of each lesson in here, you know, I don't really see the benefit of it. Like this one, look at all this, just look at all of this on this page. Look at all the words on this page, okay? And I did a big check because I just kind of picked some stuff out and did this verbally with my son. So if that is like an example for you, I don't know. I just, this is like what we're getting at, and this is what I remember doing with my daughters, and I'm like, why am I buying this curriculum if I'm not using the majority of it? Those are my updated thoughts. I would love to hear what are your thoughts on this curriculum, and this is, again, not meant to be negative. It's meant to just share our experiences and what works and what doesn't work. You know, I'm looking at this now from a kindergarten perspective versus before I was looking at it at more of like an older elementary level. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed this update. I appreciate giving this video a thumbs up. If you're not, please subscribe, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.